Good morning, Houston. KHOU 11 meteorologist Kim Castro. It's a busy day in the weather department. We are seeing quite a bit of rain out there, and some of those rain showers bringing us downpours that have now heightened our concern for street flooding. Harris County has now been added to that flood watch that extends from now until 6 o'clock this evening. That's alongside Liberty and Chambers County, too. The reason why Harris County is under watch is because we've just been seeing consistent heavy downpours, especially north of town in the Spring, Katy area, pushing up into Conroe and in Cleveland. Look at the rain we're looking at right now. So some heavy, deep reds right now along Katy, so I-10 Katy Freeway to Brookshire as well. Anywhere between the orange to red shading that indicates rainfall rates in excess of 2 inches per hour. And with consistent showers building in the same areas, we are now seeing some accumulation. So Weston Lakes, you're also getting in on some heavy downpours. This is the kind of rain, guys, that's blinding. So it's like a big floodgate of showers on top of you. And so if you had any plans to hit the road for today and you're in these spots right now where we're seeing those heavy bands, I say go ahead and postpone those plans. You don't want to risk getting out on the roads, not only because they're slick, but because you really can't see too far out ahead of you. Tomball seeing some moderate rain right now. Cypress area, you've been hit with quite a bit of rain over the last few hours. Right now, the heaviest cell is just to your northeast. We're seeing some light rain for Spring right now, but there's been consistent heavy rain there as well, and continuing to push towards the northeast. Porter Heights and along 5969 Roman Forest, you're seeing that big cell with some red indicating some downpours for you as well. Splendora, you'll start to see that cell lift towards the north here in just a couple of minutes, and you'll be hit with another heavy downpour. And continuing our trek towards the east, Liberty and San Jacinto County, you're also seeing some consistent rain showers. Shepherd right now between 2 rain bands, and Clark area seeing some moderate to heavy rain as well. Moss Hill, some spotty shower activity right now. Over the last 12 hours, this has been the swath of area that's seen quite a bit of accumulation. I've been seeing the same spots continuously bringing us those reds, those thunder showers and showers all throughout the morning, starting at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been seeing that. So over the last few hours, that has certainly accumulated on the ground. A couple of totals that stand out to me: 2-3 inches of rainfall. Cypress, 3.5 inches for a bullseye just north of you. Shenandoah to Spring, 2 inches of rainfall in this area here, and that extends just north of the airport. So even right around the airport, at least an inch of rainfall there. Roman Forest, 3 inches of rain, and another downpour there just north of Dogwood, headed up 5969 to New Caney, about 4.5 inches of rainfall, and it's only about 10 o'clock. So we'll continue to see those showers build on themselves and bring us accumulating rain. There's a potential to see some small hail with these storms. Right now, I'm not seeing anything on radar indicating hail at the moment. However, about 2 hours ago, between 8:30 to 9, we did see a cell that passed through Smith Point and headed up towards Seabreeze, towards the Winnie area too, that was watching, spinning off some pea-sized hail in addition to a little bit of wind. We use another feature on radar to watch these storms carefully to see their potential to go from cumbersome to strong and even potentially severe. We use what's called velocity. It's a rotation detector to see if any of these storms are spinning up. Luckily, nothing indicating any spin-ups for the area at the moment. The reds show that the wind is going against the radar, green that it's moving towards the radar. So it's just an indication of wind flow. We usually like to keep a close eye on this to see if any of the storm is working in opposition to the general flow of the showers. But no, not seeing any rotation. However, velocity also helps us determine what the wind speed is within the cells. And some of these are definitely gusty. So 20 to 25 miles an hour. Again, we have that potential for them to get up to 30, maybe a little bit breezier than that, but for the most part, it's going to be those heavy downpours that are the primary concern for today in terms of street flooding. Yes, we still have the risk to see some hail. Could we see a spin up, a very low end tornado, brief one at that? It's possible, but it's not looking likely. Damaging winds not looking likely either, but definitely on the breezy side. Here's what Futurecast shows for the rest of the day. So This is how the model is initializing at the moment. It's pretty accurate. It shows that a lot of the shower activity is staying north of town right now, and that is certainly what we're seeing on radar. It's not perfect though, so don't be bogged down to exactly where the storms are right now. This is just the general idea as to what we can expect throughout the day. More showers building into the north, also lining up along the I-10 corridor. That's a snapshot at 1:30. We do have a front that's going to be moving in this afternoon and this evening, and so the shower activity will again become a little bit more linear, a little bit more organized. So we'll expect some heavy downpours there from Katy up to Cleveland to San Jacinto County. That's a snapshot at 3:30. Much of the same. The shower activity that we do get will be concentrated, and those pockets of heavy rain could bring us those brief elevated high water spots. So just keep that in mind if you're planning to travel, especially along I-10 and up the North Freeway as well. So we'll continue through time there, 6 o'clock. The band is starting to push south of I-10, and you'll notice the trend is that it does become a little bit more consolidated. It narrows in its width, and so it will start to dwindle as it heads offshore and towards the coast by 9 o'clock. Behind this front, we'll be watching the temperature drop, but for the time being, temperature is not a concern right now. It's actually quite warm out there. Upper 60s, low 70s for high temperatures today. Rainfall potential. Well, this is something that the models isn't picking up too well on because we've already seen quite a few inches along the swath right here. So we could potentially see additional inches. Some spots could wind up with more than 4 inches of rainfall. We already saw that to be true in some isolated areas. And so we'll continue to watch our eastern counties for the possibility of those higher rainfall totals. For that reason, this is the area that is under a level 2 on the 1 to 4 scale to see some street issues. So some street flooding, some ponding, some issues on the roadway. And the reason that area is being highlighted is because of our upper air dynamics. So the upper level jet is splitting, and what that does is that it creates a void. It's what we call divergence. So if there's a hole, a gap in the atmosphere, something has to naturally fill it. So there is quite a bit of rising motion and quite a bit of moisture that gets funneled into this gap. So the lower level jet fuels that gap, and that's where we start to see those storms develop. And so the reason this area is highlighted for the heightened chance to see those heavy downpours is because we're going to see the potential for a lot of moisture to build up in this area, and eventually it has to come down. So that is the area that is under that flood watch. Some spots are under a flood watch, and we're all under that flood potential. This is what it looks like outside right now. It is a pretty dreary day, pretty cloudy out there. In between the showers, we continue to hold on to that moisture, and it feels warm, like I mentioned. The island right now sitting at 70 degrees. Herman Park, 74. Cloud cover, a break from the rain. So it's not going to be shower activity all throughout the day. And certain areas will favor the activity versus others that will just be more of a drizzly, kind of dreary day. But definitely when you see those rain showers coming through, they'll come through with a vengeance. Navasota, they're 65 degrees. We are going to be watching radar closely all throughout the day to see if any of that rain starts to cause issues on the roads. Remember, we were very saturated from Tuesday's storms, and so we definitely don't want to over-exhaust our already wet grounds. So we'll be watching radar to see if any warnings pop up in terms of excess rainfall and some of the risks that may come from that. I'll be here with my counterpart, meteorologist Pat Kavlin, all day long to watch these storms. But for the time being, it's heavy rainfall that you have to watch for. No additional warnings that have been popping up from the National Weather Service. I'm going to take us back to radar really quickly to see if anything else has caught my attention. But for the time being, it is just that heavy rain we were expecting for today. Luckily, we're not seeing any ingredients or any setups that would be indicative of strong to severe storms. There is that potential, but it's a low-end potential, and it's certainly nothing like what we saw on Tuesday. So that's the big takeaway for today. It is more heavy downpours that we'll be focused on. There are a couple of thunder showers there in the mix. I'll focus here there on the Katy area. You can see a couple of lightning strikes. I'll show you how many there have been for the last 10 minutes. And not very many at all. So just 8 strikes of the last 10 minutes. Something else to keep in mind, the breakdown there between negative and positive strikes. This is always something that is interesting to follow along. Negative strikes are strikes that come from the base of the thunderstorm, so the bottom of it, and positive strikes come from the top. The difference, or why it's important to pay attention, once we see this number exceed the negative strikes, it means that the thunderstorm is becoming more charged. It's growing in intensity. And the reason for that, positive strikes come from the top of the thunderstorm cell. And so they travel a longer distance, they have more energy and more electricity as they reach the ground, and so they can be 10 times stronger. So that's just something to watch for. But again, not too many lightning strikes. If you do hear that thunder, just make sure you stay inside and wait out the storms to pass. But it's just one of those days that you just want to take it easy. Luckily on Sundays, most of us are taking it easy anyhow, so maybe this will be more of a motivator for you to not do anything for today. Yeah, one other thing I want to draw your attention to, because it is new. I showed it to you at the beginning of the streaming, but I just want to make sure that you saw it in case you are joining us a little bit later. Harris County has been added to that flood watch. Previously, it only incorporated Liberty and Chambers. However, now Harris County is in that, and no surprise there. The area has seen quite a bit of rain over the last few hours, and so with those rainfall rates exceeding 2 inches per hour and storms continuing, remember it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, because the ground is already so saturated, this is going to be an area that we do have to watch for. Again, is this a watch? It means we're on the lookout for trouble spots. Once we get any warnings issued, we will certainly come on here and let you know about those. But for now, these are areas that we'll be vigilant of. For the time being, nothing imminent to talk about in regards to that. But just keep in mind, it is a very rainy day out there, and keep your plans at a minimum. And definitely keep up with the forecast. In between these live hits, we'll be on social media. If I see something that pops up that is of interest, I will post it. I am on Twitter, I am on Instagram, I am on Facebook. And so you will see anything that might be an issue. I will certainly relay that information. All right, have a good Sunday.